Hi, this is Jake DeWitt. In this demo video, I'm going to be running through Inside Forms and how you can use it to help streamline your processes. In this demo, I'm specifically going to be using an example of a customer onboarding process, and this will hopefully give you a better idea on where and how you can use Inside Forms to better streamline your internal processes. So first off, I'm going to show you how you might accomplish this currently inside of HubSpot without Inside Forms. So say you have a process where you need to be collecting multiple pieces of information on a contact to get the kick off their onboarding process for a new product or whatever it is, an event that's going on, something like that. So typically, what you're going to be doing in that case is you're going to have to come in here and go to view all properties, um, and be able to, the rep who's entering this needs to remember all the different names of those fields. They need to go through them one by one, searching for them and making sure that they enter the correct information on each one of these. Also, the order they enter this information may be very important, especially if you're triggering any automation off of this information, such as a workflow that has conditional logic based on any of this information. So you might have one of these properties that kicks off the workflow by that specific property being updated or having a value added to it. But if the rep enters that information in first, then you might be kicking off a workflow prematurely without the other information being set properly, so the workflow won't work properly. That's an example of where this might be end up going badly. Or you might need to be using notes or tasks to try to trigger this information or keep track of it, which just really isn't the best for managing all of this. And the reason for this is HubSpot's uh, own web forms are just external in nature, meaning that they're meant for your contacts or leads to be filling out on like your website. They're not meant for your internal reps to be filling out to kick off processes. But that's where internal forms can really shine, and specifically how Inside Forms makes internal forms available right within your HubSpot account. So I'm going to show you that next is how you can get into see Inside Forms and get the same onboarding process streamlined much quicker. So one way you can access it is either through the preview right here. You can see Inside Forms pops up right here, and you can configure this within your HubSpot, or you can have it show up within the main content nav here or on the sidebar here. So let's just do it with the sidebar. So I'm going to select the new customer onboarding process for this new contact. Notice how I have these fields specifically required because they have to be filled out in order to submit this form. Um, so I'm going to select the program, the coach. Let's also say they attended. In that case, I'm actually displaying and wanting the rep to fill out when they attended. So maybe we put in 722, and then we'll say no for this one. And then if I submit all of that, all at once, all of this information is going to be updated and sent to the HubSpot contact record here. So it's all coming in at one time. Also, you can kick off workflows specifically off of this internal form being submitted, not just one or two of those properties being updated, but actually this submission of this internal form can kick off some automation. Also, if we refresh, we can see in the activities here, we could see that Inside Forms was submitted and what information was submitted right here. Also within the widget itself, you can actually see the submissions and view the data that was submitted. Um, so there's a lot of ways to get at it that way. And the nice thing, once again, that is all happening all at once, brought up to the rep and guiding them through the process. And once again, it works really well with HubSpot's automation workflows for kicking off your automated processes. So now let's go inside Forms. So I'm specifically going to load up this new customer onboarding form. And notice how we have a lot of different options here. I'm not going to go through all of them, but I'm just going to briefly highlight the main things. Notice you can add any HubSpot property that's on this record, and this goes for contacts, companies, deals, and tickets, and soon to be custom objects too. Um, so you can create internal forms for each of those different object types and control what information is getting submitted with them, be able to pull in existing HubSpot properties. You can even create custom fields, which allows you to do create fields. Maybe you don't want to create a new HubSpot property for collecting this information, but you do want to collect some specific questions from the rep that is maybe going to be used in automation in the HubSpot workflow post submission. Maybe some specific questions on that. Anyways, also you can use this to maybe just streamline what information is presented to the rep, and then based upon their answers, their option they select, have that update specific HubSpot properties. So there's a number of ways you can use custom fields. Also, headings make it just easy to give guidance to the rep. Also, there's HTML, which is also for a similar feature where you can give information and guidance to the rep filling this out. So it's kind of documenting what they need to be doing as they're doing it. And containers, which goes along with the conditional logic here. So if you want to base multiple fields off of the same conditions, you can use a container. I'm going to just show you this conditional right here. So I have this one specifically looking at this other field just above it saying, hey, if that is set to true, then we're going to show this field right here. So that way we're guiding the rep to fill that one out. Also, you have the ability in the timeline events where you can actually define specific, uh, uh, like the activity that's going to be coming up and map specific custom fields to kick off in your automation. You can track version history on this and what changes were made, and you can also see your submissions right here. So anyways, Inside Forms has the ability to really streamline whatever your internal processes are, that whether they're a little bit more simple, just a couple of fields you're collecting of information, to really complex ones with a lot of moving pieces of data and fields that you need the rep to enter. Um, Inside Forms is the solution to help make that all possible within HubSpot directly. Please reach out to us if you have any questions on this. Thanks. Bye.